Before I start going over all the new characters from this Valentine event, whether it be the giveaway one you can buy at the store or the actual banner itself, there's something to talk about which is more important, and that's the fact that this event is going on from the 24th to the 30th, which means you only have 6 days to collect enough resources to purchase the new Shirley. And the reason why that's messed up is because that leaves you little time to get anything else. Technically, it leaves you no time at all, because here's the thing you have to realize. If I go to the store right now to buy the new Shirley, it costs 200 and there are 3 of them. I purchased one, that's why you only see 2 left, but there's only 3 of them. So that's 600 for this, and you have to buy this 3 times. That's 900. So that's 1500 in total. Now, if you go to the expedition mode, so in expedition mode here, you can see what the rewards are for completing each of them. And I did the math already, but you can check it yourself. But essentially, if you complete the normal battles, you get 100 of the resource every single day. If you complete hard, you get 200, and if you complete extra, you get 300. So if you do expedition mode every single day, the most you can get from hard would be 1,200. Now, as I said, it costs 1,500 to fully buy and upgrade Shirley. So if you played every single day for the event, there is no way that you can feasibly upgrade her. And with extra, you can with 300 left over, but if you look at the store again, let's go right there. As you see here, there is still plenty of things you want to purchase that you can't because you don't have enough resources, but you could somewhat compensate because you played extra. The reason why this is so frustrating is because the game is essentially forcing you to whale if you want to earn enough resources to upgrade Shirley. And yes, I'm not taking into account what they give you every single day, but even then, I don't think it's enough or close enough, but we can check that as well. So it says here you can earn 200 Valentine chocolates. So yeah, it's still not enough because you would get 1,400 if you played hard every single day plus the 200 chocolates. So no, you still can't fully upgrade Shirley even if you logged in every single day. And that is really messed up. To add insult to injury, I'm also seeing posts on Discord for the game itself and my own that there's more translation issues with this latest event. So not only did they for some reason make the event only 1 week, which again limits our ability to fully maximize Shirley, but they rushed out the story too without checking it. And this is again another example of translation errors that are completely unacceptable. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with this game, but it just seems like the emphasis is only to maximize money and not anything else, including the player's enjoyment. I mean, really shortening an event by 1 week, that's just unacceptable, and the player base deserves better. If any of the people in charge of running this game happen to be watching this video, which I highly doubt is the case, but if they are, let me make this as simple as possible, okay? If you need to delay the banner or the event or both by a couple days to fix translation errors, gameplay issues, and so forth, then just do that. If you have to overlap banners to keep an event going for an extra week, then just do that. Nobody is going to care. People only get upset when the product we get is not good, not if the product is delayed. So why not space this out better? I've also read that people are confused about this quick event considering that there might be weeks of nothing. Please, for the love of God, respect the players who are giving you guys lots of money every single month to keep this gacha game afloat, despite all the problems it has, despite all the bugs that keep getting reported, despite the fact that we didn't have the Siegfried on the day it was released on the banner, which has always been standard in this game, especially in the Japanese version, but of course on the global as well. I don't know what's going on, it's a complete circus, but this is one of the worst things they have done so far in the game, and that is saying something. Okay, so I got that off my chest, rant over. Now let's actually talk about the new Valentine characters, starting with Valentine Colin. Okay, Colin is a rank 3 assault pilot. Let's get to her abilities. So she has a cost increase or recovered deployment points. It's like every other one, 5 seconds after deployment, every 30 seconds thereafter. She increased it by 10 and to 11, by the way, if you use the Glasgow, the Borai, or her own Gurren Mark II. Well, not her own Gurren Mark II. The Gurren Mark II and her own Borai. Sorry for the confusion there. Then for other ability, every 20 seconds, increase the attack power of all ally units by 12% for each deployed Valentine Day Rally, that's the name of the faction, pilot for 20 seconds. By the way, another translation error. What else is new? It is not all pilots, it's only the ones in range of Colin. There is no way they will release a pilot like this that's rank 3 that has a potentially the same ability as rank 4 Cornelia. Come on guys, what's with the translations? I think Dalton was still the worst, but this is also deceptive because people now reading this think, oh, Colin's just like Cornelia, right? No, she's not like Cornelia, it's only the pilots within range. Okay, now let's talk about her stats. I think they're fine. They're pretty balanced between the long range and the short range, although neither one is exactly something exciting to run home about, but they're still not awful. She costs 0 to deploy, which is really good because you can combine her with the Gurren, her own Glasgow, and potentially get a cost increaser on the battlefield who doesn't cost anything to deploy. She's just like Guilford, Millie, and Nagisa in that respect. Her health is okay, her defense is okay, it's kind of mad durability, especially compared to Guilford and Nagisa and even Cecile. See, the problem is that with Guilford, you have low attack power, but you have high durability and low cost. With Cecile, you have high cost, high attack power, but slightly low durability, although I think she still has better stats than Colin. But with this Colin, you have okay attack stats, low durability, and 0 cost. So it's kind of a mixed bag in that respect. Obviously, it was done that way to compensate for the fact that this character also boosts the attack power of everyone in range. So I see what they were doing there, but it still hurts Colin as a whole. Now, obviously, if you want to fully maximize this Colin, you have to use her in a ranged nightmare frame. Otherwise, if you use a melee one, you can only target 1, potentially 2 to 3 if you're using Tristan, but that's a very niche situation. In most cases, it's just going to be 1 pilot, especially if you use the Gurren, the Borai, or the Glasgow and you want to get her to level 5. But if you don't want to get her to level 5 and want to target as many pilots as possible, then you have to use a ranged nightmare frame. It's kind of annoying you have to wait until the Gurren flight enabled version to be able to target more pilots with a ranged nightmare frame and also get her skill to level 5. But by the time that's even a thing you can do, there will be way, and I mean way better options than this Colin. So it's kind of annoying they did that. But at least they gave her decent range attack power, so in the future you could actually pull that off. But like I said, there's no reason to do that. Now the first year boost for Colin is actually pretty good. They buffed her attack, her defense, and also her melee attack. Obviously, it doesn't compensate for other problems, but at least they tried to improve the character, which I can't say for many others in the game. So I'll give them credit where credit is due. Another important consideration that not only applies to this Colin, but everyone else in this faction is that if you have more of them deployed, the effects become stronger, and obviously vice versa. So if you want to fully utilize Colin, then you also have to use Shirley and Millie, which is, I mean, sometimes good and sometimes bad, as I'll discuss those characters in just a bit. Overall though, I think this Colin is fine. If you need another cost increaser on the battlefield, maybe you just started or been playing for a while and the only cost increaser you have on deployment is Jeremiah and you need something else, I think this pilot is fine. Obviously very good in the Ashford faction because she gets boosts from both the Millies, so you have that support as well in addition to the Valentine faction. Obviously not the best passive cost increaser in the game, but still good enough and somewhat worth something on the banner just to get her if you don't care about the new Millie. Now let's move on to the new Shirley. Shirley is a rank 3 healer type pilot. Let's get to her effects. So she has a defense boost. Every 20 seconds, the defense of all allied units within range is increased by 14% for every Valentine's Day rally pilot for 20 seconds. Now for some reason here they get it right, but for Colin they got it wrong. I don't know. Now moving on to her other ability, she has a reduction or deployment cost reduction of this unit by 3 and everyone in the faction by 2. One thing I really like about this Shirley is that she has really good stats. I mean, she's got balanced attack stats, so obviously you can use her in a nightmare frame with a melee weapon or a nightmare frame with a ranged weapon, which gives her good versatility. She also has really high defense and really high health. Keep in mind that I think Millie's health and defense are lower than this. I think Yuffie's is close, but not as good, and then of course the new Claudio is also around this range, but still, these are really good stats, so I can't really complain too much about that. Now, one thing about this Shirley that is kind of confusing to me is that she she has a cost reduction for her faction and herself. And this also confused me when it came to Millie from the Cafe faction, in that all the characters in the faction don't have a high deployment cost to begin with. So the reduction by 5 seems a little overkill, especially when you use this with the other Millies and potentially Nina to get the cost down by 6. It's a weird way to overcompensate for something that doesn't even need to be compensated for, because as you've seen with Colin, her deployment cost is 0, this Shirley's is 6, and Millie's is 2. So yeah, you can put them in the Galahad or the Mordred, which will increase the cost exponentially, but it's nothing compared to other pilots in this game that actually have really high costs, specifically the Annihilators. So it's just really odd they gave her this reduction. I wish instead they gave her a healing ability like the other rank 3 Shirley. Even though she only boosts the defense and doesn't actually heal in addition to her normal effect, they are both really good characters. Right now in the game, I can see Shirley being used all the time, but down the road, probably only for the Ashford faction challenges, but believe me, you'll be happy to have her in those situations, which is again why I'm pissed off that if you're not beating the extra expedition levels, you can't fully limit break this character without using your own generic 3 lockets, and you shouldn't have to use them for that, which I'm still pissed off about. Obviously, power creep destroys all pilots at the end of the day, so I'm not going to list it as a necessarily a problem with this one. I think for the game right now, the current meta, this Shirley is great. I definitely recommend using her if you do max her out, and just like the other Valentine characters, you have to have the other ones deployed if you want to fully maximize Shirley's abilities. Overall, a great healer and so on that you'll be happy to have, and you'll be using quite a lot, especially early on, and like I said, in the Ashford faction challenges. Now let's move on to the new Millie. Millie is a rank 4 strategy type pilot. Let's get to her effects. The cheering rally begins. Upon deployment, the period of the effects applied to all allied units within range is extended by 50% for every deployed Valentine Day rally pilot, and the second ability is the redeployment time for this unit and all allied units is shortened by 30%. Valentine Day rally pilots will not be counted towards the total number of deployable units. Before going over the effects, let's just look at her stats real quick. One thing I really like is her high attack power for long range. Her cost is 2, which is excellent. Okay durability, but that doesn't matter too much because the appeal of this character is the deploy effect to prolong an active effect on your pilots. So let's talk about exactly what that means, because I'm sure many of you read that and don't quite get it. So let me use an example to explain this. So the first Colin that we got has an effect where if her health goes below, I believe, 50%, then for 35 seconds she can't die. If you deploy this Millie, who's fully upgraded, and you have Colin and Shirley both on the battlefield, that effect will be prolonged by 1.5%, which translates into 25 seconds, which means the immortality ability lasts for 87.5 seconds. Now, since Millie's redeployment time is, I believe, 30 seconds or 28 seconds, that means that you can redeploy her before that immortality runs out, and you can essentially prolong the effect forever. That's why, in theory, this character is really powerful and why she is ranked really high on the tier list on the Japanese side if you're going by app media. Now, the effect doesn't just apply to something like Colin. Here's another example of where it can get kind of broken. So the new Yuffie, the strategy type pilot version, has an effect where when you deploy her, you'll passively heal a pilot. Once you withdraw her, that healing will keep happening every couple seconds. If you deploy Millie on that pilot, that effect to heal will keep going. But here's the crazy part. When Yuffie's redeployment time runs out and you put her back on the battlefield again, then you place Millie again. Instead of prolonging the one healing effect of Yuffie, you're now prolonging 2 of them. So you have the first time you deployed Yuffie and the second time you deployed Yuffie. And theoretically, you can keep doing this forever. You could also deploy other characters that do the same thing, like Maid Shirley, and eventually get Colin, and of course other pilots like that. So theoretically, you could just have unlimited healing buffs on your pilots with this new Millie. And of course, it's not just healing effects, it can be defense buffs, attack buffs, speed buffs, and so forth. And what's crazy is, as more and more unique effects come out that enhance other pilots, this Millie only gets better because she can prolong those effects. So if that is the case, then why do I not use this character, and why did I look down on this character in the banner tier list? Well, the reason is simple. While Millie is really good, most of the time you don't need this effect. You can get by with basically whatever you have as long as they are fully leveled up. For the extra missions, you might have to pull out Millie to keep a certain effect going longer. Like I said, keeping Colin's immortality active forever. And of course, in arena mode, you can probably keep Lucia's cloak longer as well, or other buffs that characters do in arena mode. But that's only the first time, of course. After that, you can't do that again. The point is, in most cases, this effect is not necessary and becomes a win more than a necessity. Is it cool to try all these different combinations out? Absolutely, but you just don't have to do that. Another thing, and this is a personal preference, but the way this Millie works, that's just not my playstyle when I play Code Geass Lost Stories. There's a bunch of other cool mechanics you can mess with as well, like the blow and suck mechanic, but even then, it's just not the way I played this game. So maybe if you're into the more technical stuff in this game and trying out different combinations and abusing certain abilities, then yeah, this Millie is really good for you. But for a lot of people who prefer the beatdown approach or the simple camping methods, then you probably won't find this Millie that useful. So I'm trying to say she's not the most user friendly compared to other pilots. You have to have a big brain or 1,000 IQ to fully utilize her. In terms of the second effect, the one that lowers the redeployment time of all your characters, or say pilots rather, that one's really good. The one where it states that the faction characters don't count towards your deployment total, I have mixed feelings about this. Obviously, in many of the challenge missions, this effect is a godsend because they limit you by so much, and obviously in this event itself, they also limit the number of pilots you can deploy, probably as a means to force you to have to summon for these characters if you want to complete the extra missions, which is kind of scummy, but all gacha games do this. Not that it makes it any better. But again, for most situations, probably don't need this effect. I know that early on in this game, there is a deployment limit for the first couple chapters, then they get rid of it. Now the effect itself is very unique. There's only a few other pilots I can think of that have it, so I suppose that's an interesting selling point with this character. And that is why my opinion about this Millie hasn't changed since the first time I talked about these characters, where she has a lot of potential and can do a lot of crazy things, but I think for most people in most situations, she's just not necessary. Now I guess the question becomes, should I summon from this banner at all? And my thought is this: I think you should if you have enough safe Sakuradite, because it never hurts to get a rank 3 character from a limited banner. There will of course be a reprint banner of this down the road if you don't get any of the characters right now, so of course up to you what you want to do. As you know, there are better banners down the road, so you have to consider that as well. But I personally like going for a rank 3 limited character on a limited banner. That was a little redundant, but you get what I'm saying. The biggest problem with these characters is that they're heavily dependent on each other to fully maximize their effects, which means that in isolation, none of them are particularly that great. I would say probably in most cases Shirley's the best one, just because having a really good healer in most cases is what you want. And then I would say probably Millie is the next best character because of her prolonging effects, but also just her really good stats and reducing the redeployment time. And then finally Colin, who is a good cost increaser, but there's already so many that are free in the game to get. Also, one more important thing I forgot to mention when it comes to the rank 3 Colin. There's an event called the Suppression Event, and in that event, if you play out one of the missions, all the characters used in that mission cannot be used again for the rest of the event. So in situations like that, you might just need another cause increaser because you've already used everyone else. And in those situations, you'll be happy to have someone like Colin on your team. Now, we're not going to get these for a while on the global side, but it's just something to think about if you're considering summoning from this banner or not summoning from this banner. If you don't care about the rank 3 Colin, skip this banner and move on to something else, especially the way they fucked us over with this event. I'm still pissed off about that. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. If you want other content that covers Code Geass Lost Stories, then check out this video right now.